This is a Chaos Vantage, a real-time rendering software. Here, we will no longer be involved in changing render settings and testing long-term renders. The most important thing here is that you should be familiar with the camera settings and its movements to get the best result in the fastest time. In this video, we talk about the camera settings section. One of the most important parts of camera settings is the focal lens, and we will explain it fully. So, without delay, we go to the camera settings in the Chaos Vantage software. Hi, welcome to MIMViz. Let's get started. The camera settings in Vantage software are located on the left-hand side. The first option is the resolution preset. The point you should know about this option is that the resolution in this option is your working environment resolution. So the more you increase it, the higher your desktop resolution will be and the lower your frame rate will be. So the settings in this section do not affect your final render quality. But if you click on Advanced Settings, you can enter your desired amount for the resolution. You can even change your aspect ratio. Do not forget that you should not be limited to the software default aspect. So with your platform and social media in mind, or even a device that you want to display your render in, you can change this aspect ratio. For example, I will consider aspect 1 for my Instagram post, and I can have a resolution of 1080 x 1080. Or if I want to render for my Instagram story, I can have a resolution of 1080 x 1920 with aspect 5.6. You may say that after rendering you can change the aspect ratio, but this change happens by cropping. And it is possible that important parts of your scene will be cut off in the cropping process. So my advice to you is that before you take your render, decide its aspect according to your social media. For example, you can use aspect 1 for Instagram and LinkedIn posts and aspect 5.6 for Instagram stories. Now you can frame the render and you can use the composition guide because your render is not going to be cropped. By default, the fill option is enabled. If you turn it off, the actual resolution you specified above will be displayed. This happens according to the resolution of your monitor. But the next option in camera settings is the camera type option, which defaults to the perspective type. But now in the second version of Vantage, we can also use the orthographic mode, and this is one of the new features of this software. If you want to know the features of Vantage 2 software, click on the above link. The next option is the lens mode, and you can control your lens by using the focal lens or field of view. In fact, both of these modes are related to each other. Let's take a closer look at this image. In this image, you see two parameters, focal lens and field of view. If you have enjoyed this video so far, please like the video. But what is the focal lens? Look at this picture. The focal lens is the distance between the sensor and the center of the lens. The focal lens number is always the main part of the lens name. But you now know that in a 50mm lens, the distance between the sensor and the center of the lens is 50mm. But the relation between the focal lens and angle of view is opposite. That is, as the number of focal lenses increases, the angle of view decreases. The size of our sensor is fixed. Now, if we use a 200mm lens, the distance between the center of the lens and the sensor will increase, and therefore the field of view will decrease. Now you can better understand the relation between field of view and focal length. This image is a good guide for the relationship between the focal lens and the field of view. For example, in a fisheye lens, you have a 180-degree angle, but in a 200mm lens, you have a 12-degree angle. But do not forget that each lens has its own application. For example, a 200mm lens is also called a telephoto lens, which is used for sports images or wildlife. We sometimes use telephoto lenses in our projects. These lenses can be used to create closed and artistic images. However, extreme wide-angle lenses are used for architecture or interior spaces. The use of these lenses in small and narrow spaces, such as toilets and corridors, is widely used. Wide-angle lenses are also used for landscapes. However, normal lenses can be used in most cases. Medium telephoto lenses can be used for portraits and photos of children. Now, what happens if a wide lens is used for portrait photography? Let's see the result. This change in facial expression proves to us that each lens should be used in the right place. And finally, super telephoto lenses are used for very far objects, such as photos of birds. Be sure to pay attention to the field of view number of each part, so that you can use them at appropriate times. And finally, note that the longer the focal length, the smaller the field of view. In the end, let me add this point: the more you use a wider lens with a shorter focal length, the perspective in the image will be strengthened. Let's go back to Vantage. The field of view section is active for me. Now if I enter the number 18 for the field of view, the amount of focal length changes and is set to 135mm. But in the advanced setting, we also have the film gate and zoom factor settings. Film gate specifies the horizontal size of the film gate in millimeters. The film gate setting only affects the focal length. With its change, we can adjust the closed or open angles. However, the change in the number of this setting does not affect the parameters of the focal length or field of view. The zoom factor specifies a zoom. Values greater than 1.0 zoom into the image. Values smaller than 1.0 zoom out. In this case, the number of focal lengths and field of view does not change. So far, we have learned about some of the camera settings. But if you want to know more about Chaos Vantage, be sure to watch our previous videos about this software. Tell us what parts of this software you would like us to prepare a video tutorial for. Thank you for being with us. Until the next video, goodbye.